ladies and gentlemen, it's a chess program on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today we have guests. Professor Ken Regan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on again, and I'm looking forward to coming up for the weekend.
Great, looking forward to it.
Mhm.
And also, we have today um, International Master and Correspondent Chess, uh, Don Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Glad to be here. Happy to see you both.
Yeah.
Excited about the candidates.
It's
Yeah.
very, very exciting. And yesterday I visited, this is my wife, Nava. We visited the tournament site, and Ken will do it in a few days. So
Yes.
we'll discuss the venue maybe next time. So in the meantime, there are a lot of very, very interesting games, and both open section and women's section. And it's just incredible to watch. What's interesting is that in the open section they have a control with no increments or delays available for the first 40 moves. Dan, what do you think? How does it affect the players?
Oh, this is back to the old days.
Yeah, exactly.
You budget your time carefully. There's no bailing out of going down to like a few seconds and then knowing that you'll have half a minute to think. So it's back to discipline and time management. We've seen that affect several games already.
It is
Yeah.
2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is 2 hours, but sometimes people got into let's say different habits when you start with 90 minutes and you have half a minute increment.
Because for many years, people used to play with the increments. So, especially young players, they even don't know any other controls except increment. So they assume that, okay, the time is ticking out, you make a move and you instantly get 10, maybe even 15 seconds. So you're all saved and you still have a little bit of time to think. But not in this situation. If you are down to last second or two, and even if you were able to make your moves, there is no extra time added to you. So you still have left 1 or 2 seconds, and eventually, most likely, you'll be losing time. Ken, what do you think about this novelty? No increments, no delays.
Well, like I said, throwback to old times. I played many FIDE chess
Yep.
tournaments with, time control 2 hour or 2.5 hours even. Before
But
we
I see at that time there was no machinery available. There's technically, even if somebody wanted to do increments or delays, there was nothing available, right?
Yeah, you had a
It's
little
sort of
flag. You had
plug
to,
that goes up and that's it. But now there's technology is all there, and yet the decision was coming down to the old times. I must say
It's
about
kind of a hybrid, right? I mean, for the first 2 hours, it's
that's
40
right.
and 2, and then you go into the increments after
Mhm.
that. So
one effect
it's an interesting way to do it.
it is better for the arbiters because the two time pressure moments are shifted by 10 minutes relative to each other.
And remember that ladies, they have different time control. So
It's FIDE
that also
standard.
allows arbiters to pay more attention to open section, and then they will go and see the ladies section. Ken, what interesting games would you like to
Yeah,
show?
so it's interesting. There have been a number of decisive games, but the game that I've heard the most buzz about is the drawn game between Pragnananda and Nepomniachtchi
Oh, yeah.
in round 5. So
Mhm.
let me share the entire screen, and here we go. So I have that. I'm using the ChessBase version of the game, so you can see this now.
Yes.
Pragnananda and Nepomniachtchi. And one thing about it is a lot of this was preparation by Prague. So for all of his tender years, he's a heavy-duty worker. So we play. So Nepo sometimes plays the Petrov, the Russian game, after all. And so let's see what White has prepared about it. This is all a very classical way of playing. So White delays, playing c4, and for a move, and now c4 to undermine black's knight. So the whole idea is that black's knight on e4 is a potential target rather than an advantage in development. So black shores up the d5 pawn, white hits it again. Black now has to liquidate the knight. And what we see now is that white has an extra piece on the queen side. Black's knight will take 2 moves to get there. And in fact, getting it there will be a major theme of the game, possibly getting it there. Okay, well, before the knight can go to d7, we want to bring out our bishop. And now white does have to do something active really fast. So this move, now black's queen has to go somewhere, but that's...
Again, just 1 second. Don't you think that instead of bishop f5, bishop g4 was better, and bishop g5 wouldn't be possible?
Yeah, let's see. So let's see. So bishop is there... let's see. Is there... let's see. I have another window with analysis of the game that maybe talks about the... this is Efstathios Grivas on
I see.
Test-Base. So let's see if he mentions the bishop g5. No, he does not, actually. He does not go...
Okay.
Does not go that far. So I'm afraid I didn't think to talk about the...
So bishop f5, first of all, on f5, it's unprotected. Second of all, it doesn't attack anything. So the best what you can do is to play bishop f5 and then bishop g6. However, if you play bishop g4, you tie up the knight, and eventually you can still play bishop h5 and g6 if needed. Maybe it's not even needed.
Yeah, maybe something. There might maybe the weakness of black's b7 pawn gets magnified in positions with the bishop on g4, because white can go queen g3 and then play knight e5, hitting the bishop. So that might be it may be that the tactics of taking on f3 don't work as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
Anyway, this is a very common line. d5, queen a5. Now d5 used to be the main move here, but white knight Pragnanandha prepared knight h4, and so we trade bishops this way. Now, what the effect of this is, with bishops opposite colors favors the attacker, and black is now permanently vulnerable on the light squares. They're well defended at the moment, but we shall see how the game played out. Knight f3, queen a5, and now Pragg again played another unusual move. The bishop, you might think, should go back to b3 to stay on the diagonal, but on h3 now, it impedes black getting the knight to f6. If black gets his knight to f6, it's to complete and utter equality in the position. So, in any event, perhaps...
Yeah, Kim, this is one of those these moves that kind of looks like a duffer's move at first, but it's really annoying for black to meet.
Yeah. Yes, so it's so bishop h3 seems to be the best try. And with again to bishop b3, here's a line saying that black cannot afford to go pawn grabbing. Okay, because then white's attack with knight g5 is just going to be too strong with the bishop on b3. But with the bishop on h3, Nippo was tempted to grab the pawn. It's not terrible. Okay, but here we are. Black wins a pawn. What is white going to do? Well, attack b7 first, make back play b6. Now hit the queen. Now the queen goes to a5, but there isn't the connection of going back to c7, and black's knight is still not in the game. So now d5 comes and is very strong for white. Okay, d takes c5, and now we go on an attack. Now queen h5 is threatened, but okay, black hits the knight. And now here's a beautiful move that evidently was still part of Pragnanandha's preparation. Knight takes f7. Okay, so now if black takes with the rook, then bishop e6 is just going to be too strong. Both black's rooks are going to be in danger in that position. Plus, black can't get any piece back to defend the f7 square. So black bravely takes with the king, And now here's something really funny. This is not reflected here, but an analysis put by Susan Polgar, referenced by her on Facebook. Apparently A4 is a very trenchant move here, just threatening B5 and taking on D5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this isn't mentioned at all in either this, or let's see if it's mentioned in Grievous's column. Queen A5, D5, great assault in the center. Black takes. Okay, and Black couldn't bypass with C5 because then after Knight G5, too much of Black's army is really cut off. Okay, so now the great Knight takes F7 move. Rook takes F7, just losing the Bishop E6, as I said. Now Rook T3, but he doesn't mention. I remember this. He doesn't mention A4 as a possibility either. So I'll have to see what the analysis was of that. Anyway, Rook T3 takes the pedal off the gas just a little bit, and now, so this version of the game also doesn't mention a key nuance in the position. Okay, so White is going to regain the piece. That much is very clear. The question is whether Black should gain a pawn by taking bishop takes H2 check, seemingly meaningless pawn, or gain a tempo to get the king back into the corner off F7. And Niepo chose that option, and it's not the right option. So it turns out that even though it's not remarked, well, it is remarked that bishop takes H2 check is the right move. Okay, and it turns out that White cannot exploit the exposed position of Black's king, and the fact of having the extra pawn is actually going to be useful. And maybe the single most important thing is that it's not easy. It's going to take a couple of moves that won't be with check for White to centralize the queen and establish a queen that's clearly better than Black's queen. Okay, but instead, Nepo played knight C5 completely in order to be able to duck the king off of F7. Okay, queen D5 check, king H8. And now here is where Praggnanandhaa didn't play the most exact move. Okay, so most exact move would have been setting up central domination and also making a threat right away. So the best move in this position, referenced by Grievous and by others' analysis that I could find, is to play queen to E5. And this is already threatening rook takes H6 check, followed by putting a piece on what would be the deadly diagonal. And Black can't easily defend against rook takes H6 check because if you play king H7, then bishop F5 check comes. And White reroutes with gain of tempo. You can't defend the pawn either way. King G8 also is going to give White good checks as well as attacks against G7. So the only way for Black really to defend this position, well, here's the line with king G8 actually. So now the other rook drops off. White regains a pawn, and White still has a raging attack in this position. Okay, White's up a pawn and has a pawn and the compensation. So, so queen A5, what Black does is play queen A2 to at least get some control over that one diagonal so that White cannot check on D5. Okay, and now rook takes H6 check now doesn't have much point because after this, White has a little bit of a pull, but Black is basically defending and fine. So the key idea associated to queen takes A5, queen A2 is to play bishop F5, and then when Black plays king G8, so defending the pawn on H6, then there's this amazing retreat, bishop B1, queen F7, and now queen B2.
Yeah,
the whole point is that now bishop A2 is happening, and black does not have any safe haven for the pieces. White uh, controls e6 and any other square that black might try to block along the diagonal. Okay,
Yeah, I can remember watching this game and thinking there was no chance that that Prague was going to find this.
right.
No.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, part of my predictive analytic model is to judge that these moves don't look good for white at low depth. You have to really see a long time to register that that black cannot defend here. Okay, so I mean, I guess a natural move would be to play the rook here. It's nice that I can whoops play the moves. Let's see, whoops, queen a5, 6 check, king g8. Okay, or rook a8. So it's actually adding my moves to this. So you play here. Now black has to play here. And then I think this trusses black up. And the final nice thing about the queen being on b2 is it's guarding f2.
Right.
So black is, completely hamstrung here.
When I get into positions like this, it's mainly by luck. But these are really strong players. But these kinds of open positions, it's really, really hard to calculate these moves that are like long diagonal backwards, and you have two of them. So.
Right. So in fact, I can show the game completely from Grievous's column.
Yeah, that's cool.
So bishop f5, and now the problem with bishop f5 is it enables black to force off the queens. Okay, and that now white has only an optical advantage. I mean, it is a nice advantage, and playing super grandmaster chess. There's still ways for black to go wrong. White could get a kingside pawn storm. White's bishop is better than black's knight, but Nepo knows to centralize the knight. And now black is going to get control over just enough squares to beat white back. Okay, so so these moves were played. And so part of the problem is that white had to, it says white had to guard the f3 square. I don't know what's wrong with f4 in this position here. We just play moves. Let's see what's happening here. Well, one thing, black might just have g6 in this position. I would need let's see if this version of the game says anything about that. Wards off knight f3. Okay, so f4 was a move too. However, I don't have a chess engine kibitzer, and I'm analyzing without the eval bar, as has been discussed.
I think on f4, black has knight c4 with the threat of knight e3.
Ooh, yes, okay. You've weakened e3. Yes, okay. That's definitely a reason not to play that move. Okay, all right, good. So anyway, so now king g2, and it took so now black plays g6. I remember going over the game that this was one of black's ideas, and now we've clamped on f4, so we don't care about you coming back to f5 because now white's majority is a bit stunted, and black's knight on e5 is now an all-defending octopus, so white can't invade by g6. The king on g7 guarding h6 is fine, and this is another accurate move. Stopping any white aggression. So stopping white from playing bishop e6 most in particular. And black just had to calculate that these exchanges leave the position completely equal. So all right, it's a little bit uncomfortable with black's king on the first rank and white's rook on the 7th, but white can't take time to take on a7, have to retreat the bishop. So now the pawn is perfectly good, and black has a 6 rank block. Last accurate move apparently that was needed. So white decided to trade into a completely drawn rook ending, and the game was abandoned as a draw. So really interesting entitizing play, and really reminiscent of the era of Morphy. Playing these open games, king pawn, double king pawn, lines and attack. Okay, so I have whoops, we're back to you here. So I have one other game I can show from the women's section that was played yesterday. by the leader. So let me go into that now.
Against Anna Muzichuk.
Yes. So, and this is another, and this is the game that to me is a ready-made, okay, because this is how I used to play as white, fianchettoing my queen bishop. I didn't play it with the d4 order of moves, but I definitely tried to reach these positions as white, and I'm just amazed at how accommodating black was. Okay, so b3, yeah, that's I play these moves. Like I used to play d4 after b3. So now bishop b2. And well, black is playing symmetrically, and we could be completely symmetrical. I don't like the knight on c6 for black in this position. I'd rather
Yeah,
play
the black knight needs to be on d7, that's for sure.
Yeah. So and black did play knight c6 after b3, so maybe a little bit too routine. Okay, rook c8, another routine move. Now we shore up the position of our bishop on d3. And now we come in. This plays itself. Black has accommodatingly exchanged pawns early. So now the e5 square can be overprotected as much as white wants, and black can't get similar control over the e4 square. Okay, now white has a pawn on e5.
These positions are almost always good for white. These openings are really popular in correspondence chess. And so in correspondence chess, you can lose this position with black very easily if you allow white to get this position.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you literally can't save this position unless white messes up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe objectively black has already lost here. And white is able to take time to play b4 to stop black from playing knight c6. All right, so a5, but we can just ignore that. Now we're going to bring our pieces out. Black castles into it. Rook a e1. I mean, this is student body right, as Yasser would say. Rook a8. Okay, so now black does get a little bit of counterplay. So you do have to calculate that you can play h5. Nice, brilliant move. So rook takes b4 and knight d4. Okay, so now you are hanging the bishop on b2. But what's hanging in return are all the not as strongly defended light squares. Even if black's bishop were on c8, no, that can't even on c8. Knight c6 would be too strong. So this is just, it's already desperate. When you have to play a move like g5, now you're even going to allow white's rook on f1 to enter the game in some lines. This is already just very desperate. All right, so white takes time to save the piece. Black couldn't capture on b2 because f takes g6 and sacrifices. The knight coming into e6, it's mate on g7. So, okay, now we play f4. We're opening those lines as well. And okay, so black did get the knight to c5. So black is going to be able maybe to eliminate the bishop on d3, but maybe not. White is threatening f6 here. And then queen takes g5, mate on the dark squares. Who cares about the light squares? So black had to take the pawn and stop that, but now white's bishop lives. And h6. Okay, well, finally pinning down the bishop. Nope. Okay, now the bishop says, I'm going to leave on my own terms. Apparently there were ways white could have even conducted this attack in a much snappier manner. But this is completely sufficient for the job. I don't see any way black had a potential defense here. Okay, and now nice move. The pawn's pinned, so queen takes g5. Now white has a sham sacrifice. Rook takes f6. It's all falling apart for black here. So black's queen isn't even defended on e8. So rook takes f8 check takes e8 will be curtains. Okay, so black captures this. And now infiltrate again. We're going to play queen f5 check. Black tries to stick something in the way. And this is just a nice way to finish off because after the trade of queens, black cannot stop promotion. So a definitely slashing and dashing game. And there is an article about it. It says the Eclipse article. Oh yeah, this is the article about it. Talking about the about the analysis of it. So apparently, white could have taken on g5, and black might have been able to defend by queen e8. But white would still have moves that simply maintain a strong attack, and the game was essentially over by that point. So, okay. So there we are. So lots and lots of enterprising and exciting play happening in Toronto. I'm looking forward to more today and the weekend.
And I like the idea that both open and ladies sections are being played at the same time. So it's making it even more exciting, because there could be some dull games in the open section, which hasn't happened, by the way, yet. But it could be on that level. You could expect that, but so far it's
I find myself switching back and forth between the open and the women's section. Some of the games in the women's section were really, really nice, especially in the last round. A lot of instructive positions. So the game that Ken showed was really nice. I mean, that's why you don't capture on e5 with the knight and give white that enormous pawn there. It's just an object lesson there. And a couple of the end games were really pretty as well. So
yes, even Nakamura froze to Nakamura. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
Yeah. But I heard a nice opinion saying, hey, let's have the World Cup in Toronto. So I think that people are happy locally. So, all right.
Great.
Hopefully not in the same venue.
Yeah, that's right.
Talk about it next week. Okay. Ken, you'll stay for a couple of minutes longer once we'll finish the program. In the meantime,
okay, thank you. Yeah.
I would like to thank you very much for today's program, and see you next week, same place, same time.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Yep. Okay, hi. Yep.
Hold on, we are live.